Happy Monday morning. Lee and Jay Greeson here from Southeastern 16, ready to do power rankings. More interesting than ever. Jay, these were hard to put together. We had a lot of difference of opinion in the five of us. We're going to give you our composite power rankings momentarily. A reminder, we are presented by FanDuel. Before we get into that, we'll give people a minute to land in the chat here and get on as we go live so they don't miss any of our picks. Anything interesting at FanDuel this morning? I think one I thought was kind of interesting. Diego Pavia, who's the SEC's best passer so far. I think 15,000 to 1 to win the Heisman at FanDuel. What else have we got here?
Well, a couple things. And I think this is important, and I want you to remind me of this all football season, because I think you can find value early in a week before the train of opinion redirects you. Case in point, if you like South Carolina this week in their big SEC game against Vandy, and nobody really had that on my bingo card to start the season, right now it's South Carolina minus 5.5. I think that line is going to be north of a touchdown closer to kickoff. So conversely, if you like Vandy, don't bet it now. Wait, because I think you're going to get more points. I personally have already made a bet on my FanDuel account of Arkansas Ole Miss over 61.5 when it dropped this over the weekend. I think that number is going to get north of 63, and I think both teams will play well into the 30s with Taylor Green and Austin Simmons in a track meet.
Yeah, we got some good games coming up this week, and that being one of many as we finally get into the SEC on SEC slate for the most part, not across the board. We had one game last weekend. Hey, look, these picks were impossible to do. A lot of it depends on how much weight do you put on teams and what you thought of them before the season. How much weight do you put on teams beating helpless teams into a pulp? How much weight do you put on quality of wins? Our criteria differed across the board. When we added them all together, this is what we came up with. 16, Kentucky. The Wildcats, not shockingly, at the bottom of our power rankings, I think for the second week in a row. Hey, look. Kentucky can defend, held Ole Miss down a little bit from its previous offensive output, but the Cats just cannot throw the ball, and you're not going to win a lot of games in this league if you can't do that, Jay.
Look, the narratives are all spinning around programs that are frustrated even 2 weeks into the season. And I think Mark Stoops can get ahead of this. It's time to realize that Zach Calzada is not an SEC quarterback. Yes, that one shining moment where he beat Nick Saban aside, it's just not working. It's time to go with Cutter Boley, the 4-star kid who was everybody's All-American in the Commonwealth in high school. And because I've said it many times on our platform, you either peddle success to your fan base or you peddle hope. Playing a 27-year-old, 17-year senior redshirt quarterback in Calzada is peddling neither.
Yeah.
So at least you have hope with Cutter Boley.
Yeah. No, I'm with you, man. Well, I don't know if I'm with you yet. I mean, Zach Calzada has proven to do some things in this league before, right? But, man, we have not seen them yet. And I know Kentucky's schedule relatively has been harder than some of the other teams, but not a lot to generate excitement so far in Lexington. So with that, let's move on to our next one. If I can pull banners up here. Yeah, this one, hey, did not see this coming. Was really bullish on the Florida. Not because Florida beat LIU to a pulp in preseason. That wasn't it. I just thought this was a team that was really good on the lines of scrimmages, had a superstar quarterback in the making, had playmakers and running back playmakers at receiver. They got locked into a game of field goals with South Florida. The discipline just evaporated. Line of scrimmage play has not been great. Just could not be more disappointed than Florida. By the way, shout out to South Florida. I think that's a good team, but not one the Gators should be losing to.
I completely agree. And in the manner you lost. And speaking of bingo cards, who had two major spitting incidents deciding outcomes of marquee football games the week after Labor Day. From Jalen Carter to the Florida guy, turning a second and forever into a 1st and 10, allowing the South Florida to drive down there and get the game-winning field goal. And no, Nick, no, Kentucky is not favored over Florida, Vandy, or Arkansas. No, I gamble. Believe me, no. But I had Florida lower than Kentucky. That was a dreadful loss, program-changing directional loss that could land on the AD's desk.
Yeah, I mean, what's the buyout there for Billy Napier?
I'll look it up as you're redirecting our show.
Well, and by the way, his AD just got an extension last week.
Yes.
So how odd is that timing, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I just really bought in on them, Jay, after the way they ended last season. And look, if you're a Florida fan, I think that is your hope, right? You went through this once before. You're not playing the way you want to play early multiple times. So far, it's just been one time, and the schedule looks untenable. Florida came out of that looking good at the end of the year. So that's on the table again this year. But the discipline, by the way, penalties are really up in college football, I think, just looking across the landscape. Feels like everybody's drawing them. Florida just drew a lot of them in particular that were really hurtful a week ago. All right, moving on to 14. I think I'm seeing this team, too, top 20 in some of the mainstream analytics rankings because of the offense. Taylor Green has been, arguably the offensive MVP of the league so far. The defense has been better than I thought. But it's hard to move up when you start in this territory and you bludgeon a couple of helpless opponents, which is kind of what Arkansas has done so far.
The other thing that's difficult, I found it easier to rank like 1 through 4, 5, 6, considering trusting resumes and games played than I did all the teams that have myriad questions in the middle. I mean, and I think Arkansas at 14, feels low, but I asked the exact same question to Nick in the chat saying there's no way Kentucky should be 16. Who is Arkansas favored against in this league? If they went head-to-head this weekend, I don't know. I think that's a testament because, look, the C in SEC over the next 6 to 8 weeks is going to stand for cannibalism because there's going to be a lot of shipwrecks.
I've got a model. Again, it's like Sagarin, FPI. It takes points, compares them. I throw in the home field. Here's what Arkansas is looking at from here on. Underdog to Ole Miss, about a 6.5-point favorite over Memphis, about a 4.5-point dog to Notre Dame, 8-point dog to Tennessee, pick'em game against A&M. That's in Arkansas. Pick'em against Arkansas. Both those are less than a half a point. It's Auburn. 11.5 over Mississippi State, about a 6-point dog to LSU, about a 12-point dog to Texas, and a 1-point favorite over Missouri. Now, that's according to analytics, which I think, some of the preseason bias is still built in, and some teams kind of know how to game the system by just clobbering helpless opponents. That doesn't always translate going forward. So I think the optimistic outlook there is going to get lowered a little bit, but if you just want to see what's on paper, that's on paper so far.
And look, my rankings were probably strikingly different than yours because yours is more analytical, and I'm putting the eye test and the gambler filter on this.
Yeah. Mine are not as analytical as you think. I watch the teams, and kind of my big things right now as separators is what did you do when you played a good team, and what do I think of your quarterback? Don't know in one of them, know a lot in the second. I do worry, though. Taylor Green ran for, a $151 this week. I think it was only on 9 carries. I just think that's my concern for Arkansas. You get him hurt, and the trajectory of your season looks a lot different. There's a lot of teams that can say that, but that is a little bit of a concern for me.
And I don't know if you can put a true value on the ceiling of what Taylor Green is going to be in a second year with Petrino.
Yeah. Yeah. Second year in the system. I mean, it's going really well for them offensively. The defense has played better than I thought. But again,
they also played the Blind Sisters before.
Exactly. It's
and
going
one of them was coached by Butch Jones, which doesn't even seem fair.
That is also true. I'll tell you another thing true. Mississippi State, big weekend for the Bulldogs. Was curious how we would rank them. You're shaking your head. You think they should be higher?
I think they should be much higher than this. Much higher. I mean, because if we're doing this on resume, going to a Southern Mississippi team who's maybe a bowl team and winning on the road and then getting a win against a top 15 Arizona State team, I mean, look, I think I had them top 6. So somebody in our collection of no, I did not have them ranked first. But I don't know if anybody's got a better 2-week resume than Mississippi State, all things considered.
No, I mean, I think if you're ranking on a resume, you're right. I've got a scoring system for that, and State and Oklahoma, well, they're right behind LSU. The win at Clemson carried a lot of weight, but they're tied for second. If you want to rank them on that, that's fine. That's not how I do it. I kind of look at just who would win if you played them all against each other, and that's how I do it.
That's a fair conversation, and I don't know if mine. I don't want to look. Do we know Alabama's got a ton of talented football players? Yes.
Yeah.
But I had them lower than this because that loss at FSU still resonates. Beating UL-Monroe and then Caden. Well, we'll get to Alabama in a minute.
Yeah, and I've got some thoughts on that one too. But I mean, heck of a win for them. Defense made a big stand when it mattered. They've got some dudes at running back, at a couple of serviceable ones for sure, in Bothwell and Booth. They've got some receivers, including one that made a huge play at the end of the game. Jeff Lebby has really gotten some excitement around that program. Man, boy, did those fans show up there or what too, which is a real testament because that is a football program that has not had much to cheer about for about 3 years. They put their faith that they could win this one. They showed up. They were definitely loud. And, hey, that fan base deserves this one for sure. 2
quick things. All right, we just need to quit storming the field. We just need to quit doing it because just a multitude of reasons, including safety. And, I mean, we're now storming the field for non-conference games against potentially overrated Big 12 schools. Secondly, how delicious was whatever domestic beer was in Jeff Lebby's fridge Saturday night? That was the best tasting beer, I mean, since like the Hangover. I mean, that was a fine Pilsner is what that is.
Sam Smith says the cowbells should be banned.
No.
It is deafening when those things are going. Yeah. And someone asked, what's a sun devil? That's a good question. Is that like ancient Egyptian something or other? I don't know. Well, that's not our bag here. All right, moving on. Number 12, and I didn't expect to see this one, but I got some concerns with South Carolina. Okay, the special teams have been phenomenal. They rebuilt them. They've had 3 scores already, all by Vakari Swain. Do you know who is dead last in the SEC in total offense? And by the way, haven't played 2 defenses that aren't very good. That's your Gamecocks. The Mike Shula thing, I don't know what's going on there. Carolina didn't have to show a lot of cards last week. So I don't really judge them severely on that. But just stuff to watch, man. They're averaging under 5 yards a play. The special teams are doing a lot of hefty lifting there. The defense has been better. But how concerned should we be about the offense here, Jay?
I think it's a very real concern. And I think a lot of us were maybe convinced that the Faison kid, once he got eligibility, was going to give Lenoris Sellers a running mate. But I mean, it's a very real concern because, look, perspective matters. So some struggles with a Virginia Tech team in week 1 on a neutral site, and you think, okay, maybe Virginia Tech's got some things figured out, maybe a better year for Brent Pry and those guys. Diego Pavia just dumped on them. I mean, and they put up 44 in Blacksburg and made it look pretty easy at times.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's 2 games, right? I'm not, and you've seen Shane Beamer's teams do this time and time and time again. So I'm not hitting the panic button yet on them. I believe in Lenore Sellers. I think they got some playmakers around them. I think they got 2 good dudes in the run game, but their offensive line is not playing well. And that's going to have to change, especially with the team that they're playing this weekend, which, by the way, may not be too far ahead in the power rankings. And before we get there, just a reminder, we're brought to you by our friends at Game Time Sidekicks, which makes a couple of the mugs I use every day. This is the one for my caffeine. The bigger one I don't have with me. That's my use for my water. Officially licensed stainless steel drinkware. All SEC schools, over 350 over the other universities. Stainless steel sippy cups, tumblers, 40-ounce bottles, and shaker cups. SE16 for you, 20% discount on your entire order at GameTimeSidekicks.com. Also brought to you by ROKFORM, ROKFORM, world's strongest magnetic phone case, extreme protection, super strong magnets, rock lock secure mounting. September is the busiest month of the year with the new iPhone release. Just go to go to rockform.com, SEC25, get you 25% off your entire order. Last sponsor, Hovey Dry Goods, mispronounced it. It's your new favorite hat. Look no further than Hovey hats for high-quality headwear with a great fit and unique designs. Doing a thing every week, the Bad Beat Team of the Week. That was scheduled to be Florida. I made a switcheroo because, boy, if you had money on Ole Miss to cover, you got that yanked out right from you at the last minute. So the promo code this week for a discount on your order, I think it's 20% off at Hovey Dry Goods, is Rebs, R-E-B-S. So anyway, use that. They've got phenomenal hats, new sponsor of the show. All right, back to the power rankings. We have got Vanderbilt at 11, South Carolina's opponent this weekend. I don't know what to make of what Vanderbilt did in Blacksburg. I don't know if that was more about Vanderbilt or Virginia Tech in the second half, but that may be the most dominant second half performance I've seen by any team in the league this year. Virginia Tech had 2 first downs. One was by penalty. One came with about a minute left on a garbage time run. Vanderbilt scored 34 unanswered in the second half. And oh, by the way, Jay, leads the league in total defense.
I had Vanderbilt higher than this, and I know a lot of people in your Vanderbilt realm think I'm a Sun Devil, whatever the hell that is. But look, I don't know how. If we are guilty of what the college football playoff expansion is going to do to our favorite sport, and devaluing the regular season. If Vanderbilt is on your ballot behind Alabama to this point, Vanderbilt has played better than Alabama. Do they have a roster full of better players? Probably not. But they've played better than Alabama. And that has to matter.
Yeah, I think they are. I think they're really old. I think they're pretty good. I don't know how to sort these out, man. I think the Kentucky to me was clearly 16 in my mind. I mean, you could just about throw all these in a hat. I think there's a couple teams at the top that need to be at the top. We'll get there. But, I mean, the middle is just like our cases roll over the board. That's where they landed. If you want to go on accomplishments so far, they should be higher. But there's some awfully talented teams in front of them too, even some that are disappointed. One of those has just kind of been neither here nor there with blowing you away or disappointing you is Texas A&M. Did we get an update on Marcel Reed and his health this week?
No, I have not seen anything.
Yeah. Watched them against Utah State. Defense came up big and big stops for them. The 3 consecutive sacks by Cassius Howell got a lot of people's attention. Reed has thrown the ball pretty well. I think they can run the ball better. Also watch for Trey Zune. He got hurt this weekend. A&M, a team that I haven't really moved my opinion on much either way before the season. And they're just kind of here because they played 2 opponents that they should have beaten and did.
Agreed. And the questions are still out whether, especially now with health issues, on his progression in terms of taking the next step in quarterback maturity. So I look, honestly, I think I've got more questions about this team that run the full entity of the bell curve. Could this team be really good and be playoff level? I think they've got pieces that scream that. Could this team be unbelievably overrated? I don't know the answer to either one of those. I honestly think I know. I've got less of an idea. I would rather bet on every other team in the league than bet on Texas A&M because I got no idea who's showing up.
Yeah, I mean, this week at Notre Dame, that's your test. Notre Dame's got a new quarterback who's been okay in his 1 game so far. Watch the health report going to South Bend because I think that'll be huge. Like if Reed and Zune are out or damaged, that's going to affect them in a big time. So I think this week is if everybody's back, this is a little bit of a litmus test for A&M ahead. Alabama did not have a litmus test, but I was interested to see, did the Tide show up? Which they really didn't do in week 1 against Florida State. I put nothing into a 73-0 win over ULM other than the fact that Alabama was interested. Other than that, you can tell nothing by that.
Completely agree. And now I do feel like there are starting to be some animosities. Did you see what Caden Proctor said after the game?
No.
He was asked about how do you block out the outside noise, and his quote was, I wrote it down to make certain I get it properly. Just realizing there are literal 45 to 50-year-old dudes out there wishing that they were in our position and they want to sit on their couches and criticize us. It is what it is. You can't take that to heart. Be real careful there, fella, because those guys are now signing your NIL check. So,
yeah,
I mean, look, I'm so thankful my early 20s were not in the social media age. And dear Lord, what I would have said if somebody had been shoving a microphone in my face during my early days at all. But you look, you start criticizing fan bases and those situations turn salty.
Yeah, that was not the thing to say in that spot. For sure. To me, I'm just Alabama's a TBD. The Wisconsin game this weekend will be a little better litmus test. But
man, you want to talk about being wrong about something in college football? I thought Luke Fickell was going to go to Wisconsin and be great, and they suck.
Yeah, I mean, two teams with a lot to prove this week, and Alabama won that big time last year in Madison. I remember watching that game. It was pretty much non-competitive. All right, moving on to 8. Another team that I really have a hard time knowing what to do with. Ole Miss is a lot like Tennessee. Defense is disruptive, gets a lot of stops for loss. They just clock overmatched opponents. Didn't look as good this weekend against Kentucky, which has a decent defense. And Austin Simmons, man, he's got an interception problem. There's 4 of them so far. And I just don't think the talent around him is as good as it was last year for them to get away with that.
I completely agree, especially on the other side of the ball. Because if that Kentucky offense is going to get 23 on you, they better load up for bear come Saturday because Taylor Green and Bobby Petrino, they're a hell of a lot better than what Kentucky was trotting out in Lexington.
Yeah. Yeah, wait and see on them. This weekend they have got they've got Arkansas, which I think is a really intriguing game.
I completely agree. I
would be more intrigued if we're on the road, but still, yeah. Okay, moving on. I am really, really bullish on this team, Jay. Now, you can say Kansas's defense is trash and Central Arkansas is not a litmus test. but I watched them play. They got speed. They got a ton of playmakers. They got a quarterback who is leading the league in completion percentage. I raved about their defense going into the season. That's what I felt sure of. I realize who they have played, but I watched Kevin Coleman with the ball in his hands. I see what Ahmad Hardy's done in his career. I see they've got a second running back now that's in the top 10 in the league. They got a really great tight end in Brett Norfleet. Jay, if this offensive line can hold up, Missouri is a team to be reckoned with. I said I thought this was a team that people looked at as a playoff contender because of the schedule potentially. And I said I think the roster might be a thing we needed to talk about too. Forget the schedule, that the roster might be good enough to get them there. And I didn't know the offense was going to look as good as it's looked so far. I'm really bullish on this team right now.
Hey, it's hard not to be, because I know that was only a 9-point win over Kansas. They kicked the stuffing out of the Jayhawks.
Yes, they did.
I mean, that was a misleading final. Didn't they go for like 550 in total offense? And
I think it was more than that. I'll look it up.
Bo Prabula played really clean football. I mean, really clean. Thank you, Chunky. 11-point win. I went to Auburn. Math is – I was told there'd be no math. So, that was – and, I mean, Kansas is not Ohio State. Nobody's saying that. But Kansas is a pretty good football program, and they kicked them up and down the field.
Yeah.
I had Missouri higher than this.
Total offense, if I got this right, was 595 to 226. Kansas rushed, what was it? If you take out sacks, 16 times for 32. Yeah, I think this is, and people I think Kansas has got a pretty good offense. To me, to hold Kansas down that far, and I've seen Kansas play a little bit.
Quarterback can play.
Yeah, he can play. He's got a track record. I just think Bro Prabula, we said this coming into the season, he could run. We'd seen it in his career, and he was really accurate with the ball. But who did it come against? We needed to see it. The more I see it, the more I believe in it.
Well, here's the other part of that too. And you and I mean, we've had some conversations over the last couple of weeks about one of the things about this is we've talked about schedules, and Missouri truly has an opportunity to be in position to be a Thanksgiving conversation and in the Thanksgiving conversation about who's going to Atlanta. With that schedule, with that roster, with this confidence, I mean, it is – man, if you're a Missouri fan right now, you're giddy.
They're not going to be an underdog until October 11th, and that's when Alabama comes to town, and by that point, they may not be an underdog, man.
Yeah, who knows? And David is right. I mean, but if you're looking at the schedule and he says Mizzou has to get past Auburn, Alabama, Tennessee, UK, Arkansas, and Florida first. And, okay, Florida is – who knows who's coaching Florida? Because Florida could very easily be 1-5 5 weeks from now.
Yeah.
Alabama ain't what we thought.
And you can say that about everybody. Like everything is coming to the middle. The teams that were in the bottom half, bottom third of the rankings are more competitive than we thought. And the teams at the top, the Georgias, the Texases, the Alabamas, and even LSU. I've got some stuff on LSU I'm a little concerned about. It's been more vulnerable than maybe we would have thought. So, yeah, I think it's going to be fascinating. I think people slept on Missouri before the season. And to me, they are even better than I thought they would be based on what I've seen for them offensively. All right, number 6, Texas. I think this is too low. I get it. Arch Manning has struggled. Arch Manning might be hurt. Some of his guys hadn't exactly helped him out with drops, and their running game has just been okay. But that defense, man, good luck to you. Good luck to you. That's kind of holding him there until the offense figures it out. I think there's enough talent that it will. I think we got Texas too low, but that's where the vote settled.
Well, and it's probably because of me, because I had them much lower than this. And I mean, you have a huge game that I had them higher than Alabama, of course, because their loss was not cut from the same cloth as what happened to Alabama at FSU. But Texas is amazingly talented. They still are going to have to prove some things offensively, because other than that flurry against an overmatched foe on Saturday, I mean, you take those 4 touchdowns in 5 minutes out of the equation, and they've scored what, 14 points?
Yeah, but they also gave up less than 4 yards of play 2 weeks in a row, including to Ohio State.
That's fair.
So,
yeah. The defense is swarming. There is no conversation about that. But I just had them a little lower than those.
Yeah, I mean, and look, it is. Again, I don't think there's much separating most of these teams. There is absolutely an argument there. Like, until Texas can get a more consistent passing game, I can see why you do it. But I'll give you another thing. When Texas was struggling early, Jay, the thing that put them over the top was forcing turnovers, which they did a lot a year ago. They can hit you. They got some dudes in that back seven that can really get after it. Of course, we know about their defensive line. I just think their stealing is still really high, because their defense has just got – I mean, every starter on that defense and a lot of backups are probably going to all get drafted. So, yeah, they're going to take some time to figure it out. But I just think you could argue – would you? In fact, I'm going to ask you, would you argue that Texas's defense is best unit in the SEC? Take all the offenses, all the defenses. Would you pick anybody ahead of Texas's defense?
From what I've seen to this point, are we talking talent or production? Because if we're talking production, Tennessee's offense doesn't have to apologize to a damn soul.
Well, that's true. Yeah. I think just gut feeling. What do you think?
They've got the most talent, 1 through 11, and to your point, probably 1 through 22 on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the one I would take. And again, I'm looking at what you've done so far and what I think of you. But that's where I'd go. I just think this team is still going to be a national title contender. Again, probably should have won the Ohio State game, but they can convert an end short somewhere. They probably would have. But if ifs and buts were candy and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas, and Texas is 1-1. But I think that team gets better. This team had, I guess, just a take care of business Saturday. You watched a lot more of it than I did. Ball State is probably a bottom 3 team in the FCS, and Auburn did, which was just clock a helpless team.
Yep. And and they cashed checks for me in the first quarter, first half. So all's right with the world. This is a fair spot for them. And even if they're a little lower, because if Auburn and Texas played tomorrow on a neutral field, Texas is favored by double digits. So, I mean, however you want to do power rankings, but one of them has a loss and one of them doesn't. And one of them has a really good win at Baylor that I think is going to age like a fine wine.
Yeah.
So this is fair for me. I think we were I think our 2 biggest undervoted ones, 3 biggest undervoted ones, according to my ballot and what we have to this point, because I think everybody has a real good idea who the top 4 are at this point. I don't think Mississippi State, Missouri's probably fair, but I don't think Mississippi State and Vanderbilt, I think they were both too low.
I will argue, okay, if you're going to argue Auburn higher, this would be the really impressive win at Baylor, which, by the way, beat SMU this weekend on the road. So that one does, as you said, look a little bit better. I think the only thing that I was looking to see this weekend was, can Jackson Arnold throw the ball? I don't think that Jackson Arnold, like, they averaged 9 yards pass against Ball State. I don't think that proves anything. But if he comes out of it, 9 of 22, then you feel a little different. It was a thing, like, they didn't give you anything to feel worse about, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and it was one of the reasons why I gave out Auburn minus 10.5 in the first quarter, and they were up 14-0, is because not only do you want Jackson Arnold to be confident, you want that wide receiver room to start getting fed to where it doesn't. I mean, look, I'm not breaking news here that uber talented wide receivers are prima bleeping donnas. If you've ever played quarterback at any level, every wide receiver comes back to you in the huddle and looks you in your face mask and goes, man, I am so open. They could be covered by freaking Dion, and it doesn't matter. They always think they're open, and they always want you to throw them the football. And that's what makes them good. That's what makes good wide receivers good and great wide receivers even better, because they always want the ball. So that makes you feel good. And, brother, the Jackson Arnold returning to Norman storyline in 2 weeks is loaded.
Yeah, I was looking through the schedule because you and I are on the same page here. I'm just thinking, like, is that the most interesting game in the country?
Easily.
In week 4?
Yes.
Yeah. And I think, to me, that's a game day stop, but Oklahoma already got one, right?
Yeah, this will be one where they figure out, you know how they like to zig and zag and go whatever direction. This will be where SEC Nation is, probably, but game day will find it could be Florida, Miami, and Billy Napier watch, and an undefeated ACC front runner. So, but that's down the road.
Yeah, the one I'm thinking, and they both have to handle business, is maybe the matchup with the Columbias in 2 weeks, and nationally also Texas Tech Utah is going to be a good one too. Assuming both those teams take care of business. But hey, I've been circling. I mean, that one to me is going to be maybe a top 5 game of interest all season in the SEC.
I don't know, honestly. I hope somebody asks some very real and pointed questions to Jackson about how do you handle that? I mean, that's really intriguing to me, not just because I went to school there. I mean, that's an unbelievable storyline that, I mean, somebody cue Tom Rinaldi and make certain everybody's got Kleenexes as he tries to get everybody to squall. I mean, that's like The Rookie with Dennis Quaid type of storyline movie event. Go there and play well and all the things that went wrong. And I don't know, man. It's just sports is great. I love sports. I love Lamp. Brent killed the guy. I mean, man, things escalated quickly.
They did. Well, if you love offense, you love Tennessee. I'm going to box score check my math here. I think Tennessee ran 100 plays against ETSU this weekend.
How are we ranking Georgia ahead of Tennessee?
What you think Georgia is?
Well, I've seen what Tennessee and what Georgia is. And yes, I don't want to speak out of both sides of my mouth because Georgia's favored in Knoxville. But the line is about betting, not about look. 2 weeks of film, Tennessee's looked a hell of a lot better than Georgia.
Yeah, Tennessee rushed 48 times and threw 52. That's 100. How do you run 100 plays in a game? Like, how is that even possible?
Well, they ran like 5 plays and ended up scoring 2 touchdowns on their first drive, and it took 90 seconds.
Yeah.
One of them got called back. Side note. If you're in the state of Tennessee or you're a Tennessee fan, if you are not loving Mike Keith on the Tennessee broadcast, I'm going old school growing up outside of Atlanta, Larry Munson with the Tennessee broadcast and turning the volume off on the television and listening to Mike Keith and Ramon Foster. It's tremendous.
The dude's got a challenge, man. He's going to be hoarse by the end of the games. I mean, he's, instead of the plotting Titans running 50 plays a game, he's calling those dudes.
And hey, it's only galvanized my opinion. And we may have to do something live and in conversation later this week, Blake, because I know you pulled up a chair with us. Josh Heupel's the second best coach in the SEC. Kirby's 1, Josh is 2.
I think that's where I'd go. I don't think it's easy.
You think I'm wrong.
I mean, who is proven to be better? Like, I could argue a number of guys in that spot, but I can't give you one that is like you can say his resume has easily been better. I guess you could, if you want to go longevity and resume, you might go Brian Kelly because he's done a lot of stuff at a lot of stops, but I don't think Tennessee's trading Josh Heupel for Brian Kelly. And I don't think if you could give the average fan, say, all right, your coach leaves today, your choices are Josh Heupel and Brian Kelly. I think I know who most of the SEC is going to pick.
Somebody threw out Sark, and I can understand that.
Yeah.
But, well, Heupel is too. On my list, maybe not yours, Sam, but you got to factor in also what that dude inherited from Jeremy Pruitt. And within 5 years has him in the playoff. And right now, I mean, look, I'm impressed. And look, Kirby's one where nobody's even debating that. But man.
Yeah, I mean, Sark is the other guy. I just would like to see Texas play more to its ceiling week after week. And that's my issue with them. That's really my only issue with them. I mean, they recruited at a high level. He's got crazy talent. But what's a football coach's job, Jay? It's to get the most out of it. And I just don't know that he's done that yet. Now, end of the year, he may be there, right? But I feel like there's never been a year where you look back at Josh Heupel and said he didn't get the most out of his talent or really close to it. And again, the thing that I think is so underrated, he's an offensive coach. His defenses have been good every year in Knoxville.
Think about this. Who has Sark had the last handful of years at quarterback at Texas? Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning, both of whom were
could play for anybody.
Recruits in America. And Josh Heupel is plugging in portal guys. He turned Hendon Hooker. He turned Joe Milton. Maliava was everybody wanted All-American who flamed out. But he's now turning Joey Aguilar into, looks like the second coming of Casey Clausen.
Well, Daniel asked if he missed with Nico. Was Nico just not that good? I think maybe he wasn't that good, but he was a better player at Tennessee than he is at UCLA. And again, that's coaching.
Daniel, I will answer both of those questions with one singular yes. I think we all missed on Nico, especially considering the checks that were written. Man, the Joey Aguilar for Nico Maliava trade is looking like Frank Robinson for Vida Pinson in the rearview mirror, because Aguilar is beloved by the team. And they saved half his NIL. Yeah.
Not to mention sidestep locker room issues that I think probably would have come with that. All right, number 3, hey, resume wins. This team would like a word. Oklahoma looked, I think, really good against Michigan. It just has been so solid on both sides of the ball. Would like to see OU run the ball better. But John Mateer is in that conversation for National Player of the Year 2 weeks in, for whatever that's worth, very little. And you got to be thrilled if you're a Sooner fan based on what you've seen so far.
You're giddy. Man, raise your hand if you thought we're sitting here on September 8th, and I am more comfortable quoting Kalen DeBoer and Billy Napier's buyouts than I am Brent Venables or Hugh Freeze's.
Yeah.
And hey, I'll say this too. And we talked a little bit about over the summer when SEC Media Days were happening. Mateer looks the part of being QB1 in totality, not just on the field, but with his dudes, with the media, the connection with the coaching staff. He looks the part, and Oklahoma's a handful. Big John Mateer, as Blake lists it. Big John, big bad John.
Well, you know how to let him do his thing is the defense. They've given up 20 first downs in 2 games.
Hey, I don't know if Blake, if you rode both of them, both of my picks that I did last week on Twitter, I'll do them again this week. They'll probably drop on Thursday. My two picks last week were Oklahoma -4.5 and Auburn -10 in the first quarter. That's 2-0, and that's cash and checks.
Number two, and this team is here on name brand only because the Marshall game, Georgia kind of took care of business. Like, it was very methodical. Marshall scored fourth quarter. As you have called out many times, Kirby Smart does not just blow you away. Like, they are the anti-Tennessee in these games. They slow it down. They don't run it up. They don't put up big stats. They just kind of lull you to sleep. And boy, did they do that against Austin Peay.
Yeah, I don't put a whole – I mean, look, I believe Georgia's talented. I'm higher on Gunnar Stockton than most. You get a 2-hour weather delay, and it's like everybody's mom showing up at the middle school party, and so now everybody just stands around and waits till everybody has to go. So everybody was indifferent. You just don't want to get hurt. Although for you gamblers out there, Kirby's now 0-14-1 anytime he's favored by more than 38 points against the spread.
Yeah, it's like clockwork. Did that – am I dreaming? There were like a lot of games that got weather delayed. That was one of them, was it not? I think that got delayed. And that probably took a lot of the juice out of the building, which, like, you really – it's going to be tough to get everybody up for Austin Peay anyway. But you throw that in, like, you should score more than 28 points against Austin Peay. I get it, but – you know,
your third string should score more than 28 points against Austin Peay.
Sure.
They were highly regarded. They were more highly regarded in high school. They're better paid. I mean, no, that 28's unacceptable. I had Georgia like 7th.
Are we concerned they're averaging about 6 yards a snap against those two teams? Again, I just think it's what they do, but
it is
what
they do. And it's exactly who they are. And they're going to be in the mix for Atlanta all the way till the end. It's because they've got that much talent.
All right. Speaking of underwhelming, meet our number one team, LSU, which is riding the win over Clemson, which took a little bit of a hit this weekend. I think Clemson was down to Troy at halftime and was down double digits early in that game. So I still think Clemson's really good. Some teams are just slow out of the gate. I think that's the case. I don't know what you put on LSU averaging under 5 yards a play against Louisiana Tech. Again, I think it was, we called it, I said, it's the game between Clemson and Florida. It's a perfect letdown spot, and it was. But, hey, the defense showed up again, allowed under 3 yards of play against Louisiana Tech after allowing 4.5 against Clemson. Again, I think that's where people are sleeping on this team. I think we know the offensive upside with all those playmakers and with Nussmeier is huge. I think that was the most predictable thing in the poll this week. I was pretty sure LSU is going to remain one. We did get one vote for Georgia at 1. But, yeah, I mean, you couldn't really move. Yeah, Brian did. Brian's had Georgia number 1 all year. But, yeah, I mean, we learned nothing. And now the Florida game, unfortunately, is not nearly as interesting as I would have hoped it would have been.
That still blew my socks off. I couldn't believe. I mean, there was a window there Saturday. Our softball tournament got rained out about halfway through, and we get home, and there was a window there that Clemson was on the ropes, Florida was on the ropes, and you're thinking, "Holy God, what is going on?" And to your point, the only knock I would have against LSU is not what they did this weekend against an inferior opponent, because that's completely playing your cards so close to the vest, and they might as well be tattooed on your sternum. It is, but Clemson struggling with, was it Troy?
Yeah.
I mean,
I think they trailed 2/3 of the game. Or maybe more.
Well, I don't. That one was puzzling to me because, and they dropped out of the top 10, not with a loss to LSU, but because of looking terrible against the men of Troy.
All right, you said what were your biggest issues with our ballot? You had three
Vanderbilt's
teams.
too low considering, and Mississippi State. Mississippi State's especially too low.
Yeah.
Mississippi State's Oklahoma may have looked the best because I think LSU still has the best win going to Clemson, even with the tarnish on the Clemson apple. Oklahoma has a great win, but it was at home over a very good opponent. But if you put both of the first 2 weeks' opponents together, going to Southern Miss and winning and beating, even if they're overrated, the ubiquitous Sun Devils in today's live stream, Mississippi State may have the best resume of any team in the league.
Yeah, I think they would be two behind LSU. That Clemson win still carries a lot of weight. I think Army has one of the best comments in the chat. We still hadn't seen enough of Tennessee or Georgia against top teams, so we'll learn. Although, hey, Tennessee did play Syracuse, which is a decent team, although it darn near lost to UConn this weekend. Says, I've seen Oklahoma against good competition, LSU too. Says Clemson is looking suspect. I think Clemson's too good to flounder the way it did this past weekend. Again, typical letdown game for them too, probably. But I think my biggest issue was Texas. I'm still going to buy. I just don't think the floor, Texas's floor is probably higher than anybody's, again, because of that defense, because of the talent on offense. But, hey, you're 0 for 1 in your tests. Coulda, shoulda, woulda had it, but you didn't. And then, frankly, Texas came out of the gate kind of uninspired this weekend. So I can get it if you don't want to jump on Texas yet for that. But I think, to me, that's the one that I had the biggest disagreement with.
In terms of Texas, though, because, look, Arch Manning is the magnetic force of the spotlight that brings in the tractor beam that sucked in the Millennium Falcon across the galaxy. But I am stunned their running back room has been rather pedestrian. I thought that was going to be one of the deeper position groups in the league.
Yeah, but where do we have the biggest question about Texas preseason? It was offensive line, and they were done a starter before the season started. So that may be, maybe that's on me. Maybe I'm not valuing that enough because me, I'm going to go on offensive lines. And boy, did that get reinforced as a Titans fan yesterday when they couldn't block me or you off the edge. But that might be something to watch. Like if your line can't do what we think it needs to do, and you're trying to break in a quarterback who all the pressure is on in the world is on, and he's a new guy. That's your recipe for Texas to take a tumble right there.
Well, they're 114th nationally in rushing yards per game, and that's after playing a San Jose State team that ain't real good.
Yeah.
That should have been one of those. And that game was closer through the first couple of quarters than most people thought until the flurry of touchdowns happened.
Yeah. And again, and who started that? It was the defense. The defense caused maybe three turnovers in 3 possessions.
Right.
And it was off to the race. But they only scored 38 points against San Jose State with some short fields. So there's that also.
But that would have been an old school for these truly punch you in the face offensive lines and juggernauts. That would have been one of those 46 carries, 390 yards, and you had 6 guys get a handful of carries. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay, Blake, throw this, and we'll get your opinion in the chat. Early pick for Tennessee and Georgia. This line started at, I think, 6.5 or 7.5. It has moved towards Tennessee. Georgia's owned that series under Kirby Smart. Kirby Smart's owned just about every series over everybody other than Alabama. So there's that. But I remember a couple of years ago when Tennessee was flying high under Hendon Hooker, the line came out at, I think, 11, and it moved to 13. And I thought, this is just crazy. Boy, times have changed. When the line comes out, it's about half that, and it moves towards Tennessee.
It's not perception that matters here, Chris. It's money.
Right.
And the smart plays, the sharps is what they're called. They see it north of 7, and they're going to pound Heupel, and they're going to pound Tennessee because you're north of that magic number. This is where it'll settle for the most part, unless somebody really gets a wild hair. But line movement is a real thing, but it's driven by economics because the bookmakers want it to be what they want is $100,000 on Tennessee, $100,000 on Georgia. They collect the juice, and never the twain shall meet. And then they don't even have to worry about the outcome of the game. But they now have to mitigate risk and change the line to try to attract people to bet on Georgia compared to the number of bets they got on Tennessee early. And look, Tennessee is a very fan-heavy team. I'll also give you a little inside dope here, just knowing gambling. Those numbers are going to sway because FanDuel and the legalized sports book are allowed in Tennessee. They're not allowed in Georgia. So the number of bets on the Vols early in legalized betting states like Tennessee is going to dwarf the number of bets early in the state of Georgia.
Yeah. The predictive model I put together, and I'll repeat this on the preview, actually has got Tennessee by, I mean, it's a coin flip game by a half point for whatever that's worth. And again, I don't know what stock you can put in that to this point. Because Georgia's played nobody and Tennessee played. I mean, when Syracuse is the best opponent between the four. And, oh, by the way, Jay, when's the last time Tennessee and Georgia played where you less knew what both quarterbacks were than this one?
When was the last time that they lined up and you thought to yourself, I think Tennessee may have the better quarterback?
Yeah. And I think that's fair at this point, but we just don't know. I mean, Gunnar Stockton did run the ball more than we thought in week one. Didn't know he had that. But, this one's going to be a dandy. I think to me, I mean, of course it's the game of the week. ESPN's going to be there. You've got a lot of great games in the league, man, a lot of them. And I think this one is probably the one of the biggest interests because there is so much unknown.
In the country this week. Because the winner of this game takes the first step. Because you're now the front runner to get to Atlanta.
Yeah.
Because this is a huge hurdle for both programs in the league.
Yeah. You also got A&M at Notre Dame, Florida at LSU. You got, I think, Vanderbilt, South Carolina is a really good game. I think Arkansas Ole Miss could be a dandy, depending on what Austin Simmons you get for Ole Miss. Yeah, you got a lot of really good ones in the league this year, this weekend. So we'll be here to cover them all. To make sure you get them, hit that subscribe button and enable your notifications. We're going to start, as soon as we're done with this, we're going to start recording previews, which we'll start putting out probably around lunchtime and roll another 3 or 4 after that out today. And then we'll have the rest the next couple of days. We're going to preview every game involving SEC teams this weekend. Also got basketball and baseball stuff either just out or coming out, so watch for that too. All right. That puts a wrap on our power rankings. Just remember, FanDuel is the official sponsor of our channel. And, got lines on just about all these games, I think, except for maybe one. I think Mississippi State, Alcorn State is not on the board, but I think all the rest of them are at FanDuel. So if you're going to put some money on the games, do it there. For Jay Greeson, I'm Chris Lee at Southeastern 16. God bless you. Thank you for watching. We'll see you again soon.